How are you guys doing? So, anyways, we're on Facebook, and I believe we're not. Something happened with YouTube, of course, again. So I just decided right now we're just gonna be on Facebook. So, anyways, right now I'm gonna just quickly here switch over to my brother so you guys can see him. So here's Lucas. He's
Hi
from
everyone.
he's all the way in Toronto, Canada. So maybe we can just sort of start off with like sort of talking about um, like what's the latest, in filmmaking news and that kind of stuff. So anything up there, Lucas? Anything that you heard of?
I have no, not really. I've not been in the loop at all.
Yeah.
Uh,
What have you been up to the last week?
working at home, not following up with the news. Sometimes you can spend your all the time just following up on news and so on. And so no, I have not kept up with the news.
I don't know. Well, I mean, well, I guess there isn't always some big news, but there's been some cool products, right? Definitely like announced. I think over the last, I would say, well, the last few weeks, right? One of like there's some new drones actually coming out, but I'm sure a lot of the stuff is going to be what do you call it? It's going to be like the biggest announcements are being saved for NAB 2017, and we're supposed to be there, right? We have everything's booked, everything's ready, so uh, we'll be what do you call it? We'll be there to definitely bringing you guys those announcements. Um, but I guess for now, if you guys heard something, like let us know. Maybe tell us like, what's the latest or newest thing that you heard that maybe that like excites you the most. Maybe there's something that we missed here. So let me see here. We got people slowly joining, and let's see. Any comments there, Lucas? Also on,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I don't see any comments yet. It's first time I'm actually using moderating on Facebook Live. So no, but I don't see any comments. So I'm going to say hi everyone.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
All right. Here, let me put this down. And let's actually here. Let me look online here for something. We got some more like submissions, so we'll show some of your work again. Let me just see here what happened.
Okay, we got a comment here from Manuel Luna. So the new Sigma art lenses, 14 millimeters and 70 millimeter, 85 and 135 millimeter. Tomek, you
Yeah,
got opinion on those Sigma art lenses?
Sigma art lenses. I haven't used them, so unfortunately. But what's it called? I mean, I've seen people using it. They seem really good, and I guess the biggest excitement about them is that they're very fast, but they're also aside from being fast, they're also very sharp, right? Because usually when you get like lenses that are really fast, then they tend to go like when you open them all the way out, they tend to get a little mushy. So that's the good thing supposedly about those lenses. Now I haven't used it, so I can't comment about it really too much, but they're expensive. That's one thing I can say.
Uh,
Well,
well, Manuel Luna says he's got a couple of these lenses. That they're amazing.
oh yeah, okay. Let me see here.
Okay,
And all right.
you want to just go ahead to um, like show the work that was submitted?
We can. Well, let's wait till more people are gonna jump online. Maybe there's something else that you guys like, some other gear that you guys are excited about. Let us know. Like I'll tell you guys, for almost everybody I've been meeting lately, like all the different filmmakers I've been working with over the last week, is almost everybody's excited about the new Ursa Mini Pro, which we kind of talked about it a little bit last week. Um, and I think it's definitely. I mean, it's got some really cool features, and the price point that you consider at the same time, myself, I'm a little bit mixed because I'm like, I'm basically waiting till I actually have the camera in my hands, because it almost seems to me like it's pretty much the same thing as the previous Ursa, which I'm actually using right now for this shot, the Ursa Mini 4.6K. The only difference is that it's, it's just got those extra exterior buttons, so it makes it easier, I guess, or faster for you to navigate through certain settings and stuff. If you don't like using the touchscreen, which for me was never a problem. Now, I would say the only really big update about that, which I wish I had in my R70, is the built-in ND filters. That's really the only thing. They could offer that for like a little, like an upgrade for just for that function. I would have, but for a lot less than what they're charging with this one. Even though it's not a big increase in the price, because the R70 4.6K still sells for just under $5,000, or basically $5,000, and the R70 Pro is $6,000, right? So it's $1,000 more. So if you consider, I guess, having to buy a matte packs, all the filters, plus also the IR, basically cutting filters, because the IR pollution is pretty bad in the camera. So if you have to buy all that, you're probably going to spend close to $1,000, if not more. Plus you have the inconvenience of always having to have the matte packs and changing the filters this way. Whereas having that variable ND in there is, or not variable, but just switchable ND is really nice. So that's what I think. That's the biggest thing. I guess I'm excited, and I want to, can't wait till I actually get to try out the camera. Although I'll be traveling now a little bit. I'm going on a film shoot next week. Traveling to Canada actually, and then shooting at the end of the following week. So I'll be busy a little bit. So I don't know if I'll have time to get my hands on the camera like right away. And the same thing with the GH5. I know a lot of people are excited about that one, and I'm excited too. I just don't know how soon I'll actually have time to because I can get the camera. The problem is once I have the camera, to be able to basically, to use it properly, I need to spend the time, right? So, any other comments here, Lucas?
Opinions about the...
When I'm coming to Toronto, I see just a comment. So that was the project that I was talking about. That I'm coming at the end of, or I gotta check my schedule. I guess this coming week I'm going to be going to Toronto. I got actually some work on another film that I shot like almost 2 years ago. I got to do post-production on that, so I got to meet with the director. So I got a few things to do in Toronto, but then at the end of the following week, I'll be shooting a film there in Toronto, and I hope it's not too cold, because last time I heard, well, Lucas, you can tell me because you're there. Is it really cold?
Right now, this weekend got cold, and I was just I live in the Toronto area. And by the way, guys, I'm finding out right now when he's coming here, because he's not telling me. I'm asking him, when are you going to be here? And he's not. I'm finding out right now with you when he's coming. So that's how it is with Tom.
I still don't know.
But,
like sometimes things just literally change last minute, and then before I know, I'm like literally I'll tell my wife like, oh my God, we got 12 hours. We got to leave. I got to go to so and so to shoot or for a meeting. So sometimes that's how it is. So that's why it might still change, Lucas. So just keeping you, letting you know that it might still change. That's all.
But yeah, like on Friday it got really cold, and so as it happened, I went with my family to Kingston, Ontario, and we booked this really interesting event to do, but it's outside at night, and it was like minus, like well below zero, below freezing point.
Uh-huh.
And with wind, like right on the lake, so you get lots of wind from the lake.
Oh yeah, then when the wind kicks in, it's a huge difference always.
So yeah, so right now it's cold. Well, today it's better, but it can change.
Yeah.
We get earlier, we had some good weather, so it keeps changing, going up and down. So hopefully, we don't have cold weather. Or I'm not sure. Is the shoot outside? Mostly outside. I'm not even sure.
I'm not sure myself either.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Well, actually, no. Yeah, it's going to be, now that I think of it, it's, it's funny actually, because I spoke to the director a few days ago, and he said, it's not going to be that bad, even though, it might get really cold, because I think the director is hoping for, not maybe cold weather, but he's hoping for a lot of snow because of certain things in the story. So he was like saying, well, one of the days was going to be indoors, because it's all the scenes we're doing are the scenes inside a car, right? And so I was like, oh, okay, that's good. But then I remember, from reading the script, I'm like, well, the car is parked outside in a parking lot, and it says, it's cold and everything in the script. And so the actors are inside the car, but we're not inside. So filming, definitely filming that is not going to be as fun. And actually, maybe my wife was actually, asking me, she's like, oh, what are you going to talk about the show today? And I'm like, I don't even know. We'll kind of take it as we go. And she was saying, Well, the weather's not so pleasant. Maybe see how people deal with the cold since you have this project coming up. And I'll tell you guys, I don't deal very like I love filmmaking, obviously, but I love it much better when it's like a film shoot somewhere on a nice hot beach or something like that. But filming, in the middle of winter, especially in Canada, when you get those cold days, it's not fun. So maybe you guys can tell me, like, how do you guys cope with it, or because I know I do know actually one friend of mine who prefers the cold over the warm weather. So that's the thing is like when it comes to the filming in the cold, eh, I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna turn down a project just because it's shooting in the cold, but I'm definitely a lot more reserved about accepting projects if I know they're gonna be filming in the cold, right? So that's just something. How are you guys? Because, like, for example, I know for me the worst project I think that I shot in the cold was United We Stand, right? The action sort of a winter film. You remember that, Lucas?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad though. I don't know. I didn't find it too
It
bad.
wasn't too. See, that's look at the perspective. Like for you, it didn't seem that bad. For me, I thought that was horrible. Like I was freezing cold, and I remember like the first day was the worst because afterwards we had like I think like two, but like half days wasn't as intense. But the first day where we had all the actors, oh man, I was not good. Like I started out with one like a little sweater and a jacket, then I borrowed somebody's hoodie, then I put on another jacket I had. Like I was bundled up. So when you see the behind the scenes, I look ginormous like this uh, because of that. So it makes it harder to work for me because it's just when you have pleasant weather you can kind of chill a little bit more, think. Whereas when you're in the cold, at least for me, I feel like I'm running, gunning, kind of like I want to just get it over with quickly, which is not always good because you do want to take your time and make sure you're doing the right decisions as a director. So that's one thing that I hate about filming and working in the cold. But another big thing is actually gloves. Like, you have to wear gloves. And I remember we were using when we were using the DSLRs, it was actually okay because it was all you just using buttons. But for some part of the shoot, we were using the Red Epic with the touch screen, and it was a nightmare because basically the only way I could change settings in there is I had to take my gloves off, make the changes, and then boom, put them back in. And I remember I had little hand warmers, but it wasn't. It wasn't a fun shoot, is all I'm gonna say. So
What's your opinion on the GH5? Somebody's asking.
GH5, yeah. So like I was saying, looks very exciting. I think I think that might be the camera for me. If it actually, what do they call it? If it actually, well, first of all, if I get my hands on it, and once I get to test it out, then I can let you guys know because like spec wise everything looks amazing on it, but the biggest problem, the biggest mistake you can make is judging a camera based on specs. Like just because you read the specs and they tell you all these wonderful things doesn't mean that that's actually how the camera is. So the GH5 definitely is, like I said, spec wise it's really good. Concern of mine, really, I mean, it's not a big concern because it's something I lived with in the GH4, is basically the fact that like this whole, like I would say the biggest excitement about the camera is the fact that it shoots 10-bit 422 internally in 4K, which is great on paper, but the thing is that you got to also realize that when you're shooting a bigger basically bit depth image, you have a lot more digital information to store basically. So the way Panasonic kind of came around it is they came up with they upgraded their compression codec, but they're really compressing the hell out of it because they still need to be able to squeeze it onto an SD card and all that stuff. So because of that, I am personally worried, like seeing how is really the codec going to hold up when you're trying to store all that information, 10 bits of information, and then when you start color grading that, is the codec going to show up? Because maybe the bit depth or the color depth is going to be there, but it's going to have compression artifacts, which kind of in the end doesn't really mean that you're ending up with a nicer image. So that's one thing I want to try out. But I mean, if that is great, if that works, then I think it's an amazing camera. I mean, the fact that they offer the in-body stabilization, and is it actually, Lucas, do you know if that in-body stabilization is actually, if it's the same as the G85 that we recently reviewed?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the dual IS2, right? So except for when we did our review, the lens we had, that lens only went to dual IS, the first generation, right? So So now I guess it's a bit better if you do it. Yeah, with the second generation, and that's what this offers. G8, so the same thing as the stock lens on the G85. One thing is actually the lens that we have, the 12-35 f2.8, which is a really popular lens. It's there's a new version of it. I'm not sure whether, because I remember when we recorded the video, the review of the G85, I said that these lenses are being discounted like by $300 because there's a new lens or a new version of this lens and the 35-100, and they're selling the regular price, but they do have the dual IS tube. So then if you use
those
that,
lenses are out already?
no, it's still you can pre-order, but they're coming out I think the same time, probably the same time as GH5, because those are really great lenses for GH4 and GH5.
So basically, they're like the lenses that support the new, internal, I guess, the image stabilization. But what's the difference between that and the kit lens that came with the GD5? Or like what? They're just faster? Or?
No. No. I mean, the lenses that we have, which are the faster lenses, f2.8, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are constant. You can zoom out all the way, and you can still or zoom in all the way and still stay at f2.8, right? So those are really great optics, and so that's the advantage. I mean, just a better lens than the stock lens that they include with GD5. It's a longer lens. That's nice, but it's just it goes to from 3.5 to 5.6. It's a bit slower, right? But it still sounds like a really good lens. We haven't used it, but actually we're going to get to use it soon, right? Because it's in mail, this lens, so we're going to have a chance to use it. But anyway, so the lenses that we have, they're never going to upgrade to the second generation of the IS, because we originally just needed to updated the firmware on those lenses, and the f2.8 lenses, and that gave you the dual IS. I mean, the dual IS that we had, it was pretty good, right? I mean, the way it worked, we were happy with it, right? In our G85 review, we said we're happy with it, and I liked it, but I guess it's even better. So anyway, going back to GH5, it's better. I guess it's better than what we had, but it's the same as what the G85 gives you. Okay. Now, going back to the GH5, I yesterday actually watched a review of GH. I saw a review of GH5 from F-Stoppers. Hey, did you have a chance to see that review?
No, I didn't see.
So they did it they had a still a pre-production model. They had it for the guys there had the camera for a few days, and then they didn't have like too many examples, of footage, I guess, shot with it, but it was a very interesting review. And at the end, the guys from the F-Stopper, they're ordering 3 of these cameras.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, so they really liked it. But the thing is, they actually they're buying not for the reasons that you would think. Like basically, they looked at the quality of the improved image quality in 4K, and they found that it's almost the same. So basically, not much of a difference. But they like other things, like the IS was a big thing. They improved also in low light is better than than before with the GH4. Now when they compare it to the Sony A7S II, it's still the Sony camera is just like way better than anything out there. But the GH5 was still.
That's what they said, that for them the Sony A7 is way better.
Yeah, and they actually have footage that you can compare and see. So yeah, it's way better than Sony.
I don't know if I agree with that. What do you guys think? Because like, to me, I'll tell you, like, I loved the Sony A7S. It's not that it's a bad camera, but to me, it seemed like, the menus is horrible, like navigating through that thing. And it's still, at the end of the day, it's an 8-bit, 420 codec that's pretty heavily compressed. So I mean, if you kind of get the look as close as you can, like in the camera, and you don't do too much of a crazy post-production kind of color grade, then I think, like I said, it's an amazing camera, and I've used it on some projects. But I would still say, like, battery life, like the menus, the buttons, just like the overall, like the, ergonomics of the camera, like all those little things that add up. I think the GH4 was better, and I mean, it seems like GH5 is nothing more but just improvements on top of the GH4. So it's kind of hard for me to believe that they're saying that it's, that it's still better. But maybe you guys prefer it.
Sorry, I did not say it's better. I said in low light, it's much
Oh, okay,
better.
okay, 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 okay. Yeah, no, no. In low light, obviously, yeah, yeah. In low light,
Okay,
yeah, nothing beats that. Okay, okay. I thought I misunderstood it.
no, but you know how you were saying that it's you don't want to buy a camera based on specs, and basically pretty much they said yeah they're buying it not because of specs, not because of like the things that you know because of the higher you know more information, color information. So, but the other interesting thing that they said is because again they compared the footage and it was almost the same, right? And then they underexposed the footage and then they blew it up, you know, increased the brightness in post production, and there was no really extra information in that you know, in that 422, you know, 10-bit footage, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing, though, the interesting thing that they didn't kind of, I'm not sure they realized or not, but they were shooting it, yeah, at the codec, that 150 megabits per second codec, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's compared to the GH4's, you know, 100 megabits per second, right?
Yeah.
So they're actually, so that's, there isn't that, so basically you're, you're only getting a bit more, you know, data, but you're generating a lot more data, like in terms of that 8-bit to 10-bit, 420 to 422. Somebody calculated, makes sense to me. It's 16 times more data. So if you want that not compress more, compare you know what you're getting with GH4,
Uh-huh.
you need to have to you need to have 100 megabits per second times 16, so
Oh, okay, okay.
1.6 giga. Now the thing is, there's GH5 is going to have an upgrade of codecs, and then they're going to make available the 400 megabits per second, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then that's when you actually might see the the difference, and that's when you'll be able to really judge the camera whether it's really, you know, whether yeah whether it's a good trade of having that extra color information, but the codec still holds up, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So right now we cannot, nobody can say it because you can only shoot up to 150 megabits per second,
And
which is not this.
that's because of the card limitations?
I'm not sure why, but like there's that codec is still not available. So there
Uh-huh.
has to be will have to be a firmware update of the GH5. That's when people will be able to basically judge. Right now, it's too early to say because yeah, there is a good chance that there will be a problem, as you said, that the codec will not be
Mm-hmm.
good enough, right? So that's that, yeah. But these guys, again, even though so the for they you know the guys from F-Stoppers, they said the quality seems almost the same in 4K, but for the other additions, especially the IS,
But it seems almost the same to which camera? The you
the
saying that
GH5, the
G
GH4,
GH4? Okay, okay.
shooting, you know, the GH4 or even G85 that allows you to shoot, you know, 4K and 100 megabits per second, right?
Uh huh.
So it's a similar codec, and well, and so you're not really right now you're not gaining much. But again, that might there might be a big improvement, hopefully,
Yeah.
once
Well,
you are
I
shooting at
can
400.
I can tell you one also another thing that maybe I forgot to mention about the GH5 is that what also got me excited is that like it's for the first time camera manufacturers design a camera like a DSLM DSLR style camera, like a small photo camera that is also designed to be used as a video camera. And what I mean by that is, aside from the good codecs and all that stuff, the video options, they even came up with now with the accessory, which I believe it only works with the GH5, but it's the Hachi mount accessory for like proper audio, monitoring. So you can have XLR connections, phantom power, all the controls. It's very small because they had that little unit before for the GH4, but I found that it wasn't very practical. It was this big blacky thing underneath the camera, and kind of made the camera, that much bigger. Which the whole, I guess, purpose of why you would go with a smaller camera for shooting video versus a proper video camera is because it's smaller, right? So it's kind of cool that they came up with this little addition thing. You put it on there. If you don't need it, you take it off the Hachi mount very quickly. But you have proper audio monitoring connections, like all that stuff. I think that is also for me. That's something that I'm excited to test out. So we'll
Another
see.
question,
Yeah.
another question, Tom. Here, when are we going to see the film you shot in India? I want to see it too. I have
I'm
not seen
actually,
anything.
I should be, instead of doing this live stream, doing a little update for the director, because I promised him, because I basically shot the film, but I promised him that I was going to help him with the editing of the opening sequence. It's like this crazy action scene, which I did. I just wanted to like do some updates. But yeah, as far as I heard, the film's like the editing of it is done. They're waiting on my little intro sequence, like some updates, but The film is done now. When is it going to be released? I don't really know. It's part of it. I think it just depends on the on well, I think all of it depends on the distribution deal that they have set up. I know that they've got something set up already in India, but they are marketing it. That's why like they hired some, like Hollywood actors like Robert Patrick or no, was it?
Roberts, I guess that's the name is
Robert, yeah,
Roberts.
Roberts, yeah, Patrick Roberts,
Patrick
right?
Roberts.
Oh no,
Okay.
Eric Roberts. Jeez, I'm like horrible.
Eric.
Julia Roberts' brother, right?
Okay, it's so bad you have to refer to him like that.
No, because yeah, because I mean, I've seen him. I mean, we've all seen him. It's like one of those actors that you've seen him in all these movies,
Okay.
but like I just always forget his name. That's the thing. So very cool guy and all that stuff. And he was, he flew down there to India, shot this movie in crazy conditions. But the reason, yeah, why they got him and then they got a few other like people like that was because they were marketing it for not just for Indian market, but North America, I guess U.S. mainly. So I don't know how that's going. What the thing. I haven't really talked to the director about all that. So, but as soon as I hear, it's like, I mean, I think that film, like I'm surprised because usually most films take a long time, especially when they're like, this wasn't like a full-blown budget. It was a little bit on the lower side. I'm not gonna say it was a no-budget indie film because it wasn't. But usually those kind of lower budget films take a long time. And this film, actually, I'm surprised how fast it was. I mean, we finished shooting, was at the end of September last year, and then there was a few, after I left, they had to like shoot an extra scene that they decided to do, like an extra musical. So I think by like October they had everything, and they literally had before Christmas in December they already had the film edited. So I was like, wow, that's fast. So they're doing the sound. I'm guessing the like, final touches on the music, all that stuff. So the film, as far as I know, is like pretty much ready to be watched, but it all comes down to distribution. So once I know, I'm sure I'm gonna put it up on my website and Facebook and all that stuff. So you guys will know. You're probably gonna see it the first time as I'm watching it because like I said, I haven't seen anything other than the opening scene which I worked on. So, which I gotta say
Alright,
is
we've got
awesome.
we've got a few more questions. Maybe let's get to those and then start watching the clips that were submitted to us.
Okay, well, I see one
And
question is, did you shoot an entire movie in the GH4, I guess, on the GH4?
yeah,
That's from Adiat. And also I see another comment here. Somebody agreed with me about the horrible Sony menus.
thank you.
Dinesh, yeah. I don't know if he's the only one who agreed with me, but I honestly don't like those menus. So yeah. Anyway, so answer that question. Oh yeah, so sorry, you were saying?
No, I mean I think it's widely known that Sony's menus are the worst.
No,
So
but
I have
it's funny because some people say they like them. That they like that
really.
everything's in order. But I find it annoying. They have to like to get to a certain menu. You have to go through all those things. And yeah, if you remember on which page it is, then I guess you'll get to it eventually. But I don't know. I find it like I'll tell you the best menu system by far from any camera is on the Ursa Mini actually.
Okay.
After all those updates, Ursa Mini 4.6K because there is a menu, but there's pretty much no menu, you could say, that you need to use because you can just right on the touchscreen, like pick all the options that you want, and you can make adjustments right there. So it's the quickest to get through. But yeah, GH4. There's been many actually movies that were shot completely in the GH4. Maybe they don't advertise it, but there were. And one movie was a movie that I shot. Actually, that was a movie I was going to say that was one of those indie films, and it's taking a long time to do post-production, and that's what I'm meeting with the director for this coming week in Toronto. Is because they finally finished, as far as I know, everything in post-production except the color grade. And since I was the DP on the film, they want me to help out with that. So but that film was shot. Well, it's going to be what, like 2 years now, right, Lucas?
You know what, time flies by, but I believe so. Yeah, 2
Yeah,
years.
because it was May of
Actually,
2015, I think. Yeah. So
May
time
2015. So it's not quite 2 years. It's May.
Oh,
It's going to be 2 years. So
almost,
you're
but yeah. So it's kind of crazy how time can fly, and it's because in an indie project you barely get scraped the money to get the shoot done, and then once you shoot it, then it's like, okay, now we got to do the post production and getting all the people, and if you can't afford it, then you just got to do everything yourself. And I know the director Jeff Senesak, as far as I know, he did like most of the work on that film, the post production work. So I'm curious to see it myself and that thing. But yeah, that whole film was shot on the GH4, like every single shot. Actually, no, I'm lying. There was, like, I think 2 shots I got on the my Cine drone, which was like my early version with the GoPro attached to it. But that's it. Like otherwise, the whole movie thing. So I'm definitely going to be again showcasing that movie or the trailers or whatever as soon as it comes out. So if you're curious to see what you can do with the GH4, you can watch that. And I think it looks pretty good. Not because I shot the film, but like, I'm just saying in terms of like working with the camera, like it was GH4 was great shooting on that film. I don't think I would have. Maybe it would have been actually a disadvantage if I had used some more expensive camera. So.
Was the film or is the film finished in 4K?
No, I think they finished not in 1080, but I think in 2K because they wanted to zoom in sometimes, so like reframing, and also because there was quite a bit of slow motion, and that's the only thing on the GH4 you can't really shoot slow motion in 4K. So.
Oh, okay. And okay. Okay, another question here.
Yeah.
Sorry, copy the long questions. Okay, let's
I
move to
see.
the next one.
I should have wrote that there's no cropping when shooting in 4K mode with the GH4. So I actually didn't know that. So that's a pretty cool thing.
Oh yeah. What's your opinion on the Blackmagic? Is it the PCC, the production? Was it the pocket, the small camera? Is it still worth investing for a person who has shoots on DSLRs? Is it worth to invest for the raw workflow and the dynamic range?
For which camera? Sorry.
Blackmagic PCC. So is that
Pocket
the small one,
cinema
right?
camera? Yeah, that's their old one. The thing. I think. I mean, it's still a good camera. I mean, it shoots in a good quality codec. But just the problem with it is more not so much the image quality, because that was the whole thing, is they marketed that camera as like you're getting this professional image quality in this tiny little factor, but the sacrifices they made is like basically the ergonomics, the battery life is horrible. I mean, when it comes to audio, I mean, audio options on it are horrible. So I pretty much would say don't bother shooting audio on it. So those are the kind of things that I would say I'm not good at it. But I mean, if you can get that camera for cheap and you don't care about having 4K, shooting 1080, then quality is amazing. So you just have to work around it, and figure out a good battery solution and audio solution, all that stuff. But yeah, it's definitely an option. You want to take a look at the work here that people submitted?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one here is from, what is it? Amrit Vatsa. He says, I was invited by an NGO to accompany 2 cyclists doing something unique in the Himalayas. And I wanted to tell their story. So this was a week-long journey, and the story is about 4 minutes long. So okay, so it's like a little mini doc.
Yeah, it's a good video. We should, maybe we can watch the whole thing, or
okay. So I'll play it and we'll see. Yeah, would love to know your views on the storytelling skills and also anything that looks technically distracting, like sound, music, framing, etc. So let me know, what you think. So all right, here, let me just cue it up here. And let me switch here so you guys can see it. So I'm just gonna play it, I guess, from the beginning, and I'll stay quiet so you guys can hear this. All right, here it is.
हल्के से मारो
बस मुझे लगता नहीं कि ये राइड कंप्लीट करने देगा. Once this is loosed, the frame is gone.
So what will you do if it doesn't work?
Don't know.
We'll think about it when it comes to it.
Ready? Hold on. Up, ready now?
Yeah.
Let's go.
No words come close to describing this land. It's just magnificent. I've experienced the land change so much, the scenery change so much, from being lush green to almost grassy now.
So when you say lush green, how do you know it's lush green?
Well, you smell the grass. Not that grass, but grass, yeah, grass.
You want your teacher to?
उल्टा
Yeah.
चेंज इट अरे ऐसा उल्टा नहीं वैसा उल्टा है पूरा क्लोथिंग
Inside out. Inside out.
दिस अगेन उल्टा दिस अगेन उल्टा
Don't. Oh yes.
This is the other wala ulta.
They feel like blind people really need help, man.
Ulta 1, ulta 2.
Blind people really need help. It's difficult as a blind man to describe what I see, but there's a line from The Little Prince that says, "What is essential is invisible to the eye."
In August 2016, Divyanshu and Gagan attempted to cycle from Manali to Khardungla in India, a distance of over 500 kilometers on one of the highest altitude roads in the world, with 5 mountain passes to be climbed where oxygen can get as low as 50% of that at sea level. Now you need a certain level of fitness to pull this off, but then hundreds of cyclists do this every year. Just that, until now, not a single blind person amongst the millions who live in India had ever tried this. And that's exactly what Divyanshu has been trying to change.
It's a personal journey. Of course, the larger goal is to get people with disability to mix with the mainstream, do stuff together as equals, push beyond their own limits that the society has imposed on them, where they're told they can't do this and this is impossible. Almost everybody I talked to before this said it was impossible thing to do. It was not possible. What really helped was I believed in myself. There will be times in your life when there will be no road for you to travel and you'll have to make your own road. But if you want it bad enough, stick it out. If you want it bad enough, it's worth putting every last bit of effort into it.
Divyanshu and Gagan became the first blind and sighted pair to cycle from Manali to Khardungla. It took them 8 days. If you are either a sighted cyclist like Gagan or one with a disability like Divyanshu and want to undertake this tandem expedition in the Himalayas,
All right, so
do
we're
reach out
almost
to
done
Adventures
here
Beyond
with
Barriers.
the film. You guys can see that's the ending there. So yeah, I mean, what do you think, Lucas? Tell me.
I mean, the main thing is I found the story really good. It's just I didn't think it's the title. I'm not sure the title says anything about, but I didn't first realize that, you know, the hero of this video, the person who's featured in this story, is that he's blind. I did not realize it. I don't know, maybe I missed it, but then maybe I wasn't paying enough attention at the beginning of the video. But maybe that's the only thing story-wise. Like, did you right away realize that?
No,
that
I didn't, and I think that's what's good about it, is that it made it like a little bit of like this suspense, a little surprise, right? That adds something, because otherwise you're like, okay, guys cycling, right? But that definitely adds something to it, right?
Okay.
And I'm looking at it right now too, again, like a few of the other shots, and I see a lot of it, which was a smart decision. A lot of it is shot on like these really wide angles, and that's good because I mean they're all over the place, right? They're, you know, like I said, very rough terrain and stuff like that. So because of that, here you guys can I'll just switch it again so you can see it. When you're in like such rough terrain, it just means that without even any gimbal or anything, you can get relatively smooth shots, right? Just hand holding it. Now maybe they did have a gimbal here in this shoot, or a little glide cam, although I don't think so. I think it was just handheld. But because the lens is so wide, it helps you kind of smooth out the shots, so that's a good thing. Overall, I mean, I didn't see anything really wrong. I mean, the really amateur rookie stuff where it's like overexposed or something like that. There were just a few shots, like for example, this interview here. I would have maybe placed it. I mean, then again, maybe there was no other option. Maybe this was the best option, but I personally would have placed it with like a view of the mountains behind them. So that's what I would have changed. And like doing that interview. I mean, sometimes you see like here the focus was off a little bit. I think now again, little technical things like that. But then again, when you're shooting something live, like when things just happen, and you have to be there to kind of capture that moment, and you only have one chance. I mean, it's difficult to do, right? So and I think the editing is good. Like it give you a sense of the space and thing, and definitely adding those aerial shots like here, it just makes you go like wow, like makes me want to go to the Himalayas now, for a little road trip. So, right?
Really?
Yeah. No, it looks
Uh,
nice. Although I'll
yeah.
tell you, when they mention about the air, the fact that the air is so thin, it's like it said 50%, right, thinner um,
At sea
than the
level?
sea level. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that because having traveled, even like this year, we went to mountains in Ecuador, and it wasn't as bad, at least I don't think. But I mean, remember, Lucas, you had problems with the car because the car even had problems starting because there's not enough air, basically, not enough oxygen in the air, and things like that. So, and I remember for me, just like I went to this one kind of site with my wife. We were walking up these little hills and stuff. It wasn't much of a hike, but after maybe like 40 minutes, and by the end of it, I mean, I was like winded. It was very, very tiring because you're not getting enough oxygen, right, when you're walking around. So
The worst is I've experienced is I've never been in the Himalayas or at these altitudes, but the worst I've experienced is in Cusco. Not so much though. It wasn't so much just because of the altitude, but it was also because the combination with the pollution, car pollution. So I got really like bad bronchitis after that stay there. And also in La Paz, I felt like the altitude, but in terms of in Quito, for example, which is not, I think it's about 2,400 meters above sea level. That I never had problems there, but when you mix it in, like if you have a city lying so high above the sea level and they don't have clean cars, then it can get
Yeah.
really bad. Then
yeah, that's the worst mix, I think. All right, so the next video here is from Juan Gonzalez Perez, and it is here. It says, this is an institutional video I shot for a friend's carpentry, his company, with a Canon 6D, 35mm 1.5 Rokinon lens, and a 25 to 105 Canon lens. I worked a lot in the lighting of each scene to try to basically, he's saying that he's basically trying to make it look very natural, but he had to light it still, to get the proper exposure and I guess the dramatic effect. But he didn't want it to seem like it's very obvious lighting, and he's just asking, I guess, what we think of it in general terms. So here's the video. Let me just switch here. And all right, let me let you guys watch it. It's a short video too. So there you have it. What do you think, Lucas?
I'm really impressed. I mean, I would not think you could make a video about a wood workshop
Yeah.
like so exciting, so interesting. So I really like it. Like the length was just the right length, and it was just I think it's effective also just to show off this furniture maker.
Yeah. And I'll tell you that like what I really loved is the use of the slow motion and the camera movement, like little subtle camera movements, because they basically add to it. They make it feel like even when you're just seeing a guy doing one motion with the drill, for example, or something, or sending it, it just adds a little bit more life to it. But also because it is slow motion, like you're getting a sense of really seeing like something that I guess we've all seen, like somebody sending or drilling, seeing it a little bit different because you're seeing those little particles and things fly out, and it just makes it, slow motion always makes everything more cool, cinematic. But also like lighting wise, here let me jump again so you guys can see it. I think lighting wise, it's it's very well done. Like even just this shot you see here, it's a more of a high key lighting. I mean, as in it's most of the shot, like if you were to look at the histogram, would be in the brighter sides, but it's still the number one mistake people do when they do add a lot of light, or they want to make it feel like a really bright kind of just very high key lighting, is they usually minimize the shadows, and you do need shadows to add some contrast to it. So they're small, the shadows, but they're there and they add nice contrast to all these shots. So that's what I like about it. See, like you're seeing here, these particles fly, like little things, just a shot here of him drinking the mate, but like these close-ups, yeah. And the fact that you see he shot it with the 60D, which isn't like the latest, most expensive camera. It just shows you that pretty much with any filmmaking tools these days, you can do a good job, right? And you see, like here, the camera is moving a little bit around, and
So I guess the 60D shoots at 60 frames and slowed down 24
yeah.
for this film. Okay. And in terms of going back to the creating those subtle shadows in the high in that shot, the first shot you showed, it's a matter of controlling the spill of the light, right? To create those.
And also being aware of your environment. Like if you have a lot of bright surfaces areas in your environment, then it's going to be more difficult for you to get that contrast in there, because there's going to be light bouncing all over the place, right? And then here definitely there was a lot of, it looks like a lot of natural light and also a lot of just brighter objects, but they still managed to get that contrast in there. So good job, I would say. So that's
Very good job. Very good job.
Yeah, very good job.
And
So that was from Juan Gonzalez Perez. So he was what did it say here? He was the director of photography, and editor. So pretty much like a one-man crew. So yeah, very, very good job. So anyway,
and he used a lot of the natural light. So
yeah, he used natural light, but you can see he used it in a skillful way, right? And he says he was lighting it too, which I do believe, because sometimes I saw like the nice little reflections in the wood. Like sometimes you don't light necessarily to add more light or to make something brighter. You light it to bring out the shape in certain forms, or bring out that little like the glint, the reflections. Like when you're doing car commercials, for example, having white bounce is very important. Not because you want to overlight it, because so many people think you need to have a lot of light. In cars, actually, you want to have very little light, but you want to have big reflections, because that's what the cars are reflective. So the surfaces will catch that those white, basically like big screens that you have, for example, or whatever it is they're using, like a giant softbox, or it could be like a silk screen. And I always use it also like on above the car, sometimes on an angle you put some, just to get these nice the white reflections, kind of these lines in the car, and that kind of shows you the shape of the car better. Right? Without that, with just like if you just put a lot of light but the little small lights, you're just going to see these little specks reflecting in the car, and it does not look very attractive. So you got to be aware of those things, right? And he definitely did that here. Let me look at the next one here.
It's not kind of a good transition, because it's a product shot, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah. The next one is from James Jakubczyk. Oh, I guess Polish descent. And it's he was a director of photography, editor, producer. So basically did everything. And let's see here. He did what is it? It's just men cologne commercial. There's no sound, and it's shot on the Blackmagic cinema camera. So let's see. Where is it? Oh, it's on Vimeo. Okay. All right, it's very short. Just one shot, right? Yeah, that's what it looks like it. And that was it. So, here, watch it again. It's just one shot. I mean, it's a good job for a product shot. What I would have done, like little advice, since he did use those reflections here, which is good, but I would have added a little bit more of a fill on the back side, because you see this side is very dark, but you want to have on the back side like a little bit of light, so you see that dark edge. So either something in the background there, and also with the color grading, the only thing I would say is watch out, because it looks like you really push the colors here in the kind of like going between the shadows and the midtones, and there's a lot of noise here. You can see like this kind of colored noise, and that's why usually in the shadows you want to desaturate the shadows, which is very easy to do now with like Lumetri or DaVinci Resolve is really good for that. But yeah, that's something to watch out for, because you can see it kind of. That's the first thing that jumped out at me, is that a lot of noise over there. But yeah, anyways, I think that's it. So maybe any other questions, things like that?
I think we got just take a look.
We should be finishing it up, right? So.
Any opinions on the Samyang Xeon lineup of lenses?
Samyang or the Zines, you mean?
Xeen, XEEN. How do you say?
Yeah.
Zines.
I mean, I'm actually doing a video still about, like, because I've been just testing out the zines that I have and comparing them to the Rokinans. They're basically, zines are made by Rokinan, and as far as I understand, Samyang, like, I don't know exactly how that works. They're all made in Korea. I think they're made by one manufacturer, and then just different distributors take it and put their label on it, like, as far as I understand, because they look identical. I mean, I remember one time I bought the 35 millimeter tube 2.5, the cinema lens, the stuff from Samyang, and then I got a loaner, which was a Rokinan, and you could not tell them apart unless you looked at the little logo on the side. Then it was like, oh, okay, and the quality was identical. So clearly, this being manufactured by the same people. So I would say that like quality between Rokinan and all that stuff, Samyang or Bauer also is another company. It doesn't look like there is any difference now. Maybe in the way, with the warranty, I don't know, service, I have no idea. Maybe that kind of stuff, customer support, is that where the difference is. Now, when it comes to the zines themselves, I've been testing them, like I said, for a while now, versus the Rokinans. And like I said, I'll be releasing a video very soon. That we actually did release like a little teaser, you could say, or my initial test that I did on it for the people who are subscribed to our newsletter on our website. And if from my initial test, I'll just tell you I do not see a difference between the Rokinan and the zines. So like if you take the
Rokinan cinema lenses, right?
Yeah, Rokinan cinema lenses. So they're Rokinan cinema lenses, but they're like, what is it, 1/5 of the price, or maybe 1/4 of the price, like huge difference, right? And so when you compare the two lenses, like for example, I was comparing the 50 millimeter Rokinan to 50 millimeter zine. They're the same speed, the same everything, and even the optics, like when I was looking at it, the size of the front and the back glass and everything is identical. It just looks like the housing is different. So my tests tell me that basically it's the same lens, like they basically took the Rokinan and they stuck it inside a larger housing, which you might think, well, it's kind of dumb. Why would you do that? Then, make a lens bigger. But what it does help is, well, first of all, you have bigger travel on the ring, so for the focus and stuff. But also it makes it easier to work if you have a proper cinema setup. If you're doing run and gunning, you obviously want small lenses, but if you have a proper cinema setup with a matte packs, then the zine lenses from Rokinan, the matte packs basically will fit, the opening fits perfectly to the cinema, standard diameter of the lenses, so you don't have to have any donuts or anything in between, or worrying that you have light spilling through the back. So that's where the advantage is. Now the lenses are, because they're bigger, heavier, so it's kind of harder to work like a small one-man crew, but also you have what do you call it, the price is the biggest difference. So is it worth spending that extra money? That depends on what kind of workflow you're doing. So they definitely look more professional and look cool. So yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, this big question. Well, from Manuel Luna, and he's asking, since we've shot in other countries, what would be our advice when, especially, I guess, when you are working alone
Oh,
by
okay,
yourself and working in other countries?
Well, what would you say? Like, because you've worked with me, right, when we're traveling.
Well, that's not working alone. It's working.
Well, yeah, but it was
with
still a small
two.
crew. Like, with a lot of times it was just me and you working, right?
I mean, it really depends from country to country. Like some countries really have to be, careful, and it's hard, for security reasons, right?
Oh, okay, okay.
And you never know. Like sometimes, like we've had, been in some areas that are maybe some people told us they're not so safe, and we had no problems. And then you hear about people like there's this photographer actually from Canada who had a bad luck and in a resort town in Costa Rica. Unfortunately, he got attacked and lost his life. So you never know. He was taking these sunrise photos and just had a bad luck. That place that's considered safe. But security aside, right, which varies from place to place, it's pack light. I'm not sure exactly what aspect, like in terms of what this question exactly what we should be focusing on, but in terms of like what gear to take, just pack light. And for example, we did a review recently of the G85, which we talked about there in that video, that it's a camera that really that in a small package gives you a lot of good performance.
Yeah.
So opting for gear like that and just being creative with, I guess with the equipment you take. Sometimes you can maybe some equipment that might serve multiple purposes. I mean, like the monopod, I think sometimes you would use it as to get panning shots on a monopod, right? Not just for example. So anyway, like there's, I don't know. Do you have like specific
Well, I think
examples?
yeah,
How-
I think that's the big thing is when you pack light, but also pack equipment that can be like multitask, right? Because the thing is that you're gonna be basically you don't want to take extra stuff that just ends up lying around in your bag. You're probably gonna have to pay extra charges for shipping and all that stuff. Also, bigger chance that something's gonna break. So also take definitely stuff that can take a bit of a beating, because a lot of times you don't know. You might be traveling on a plane and then they might even a carry-on sometimes are like, no, you have to check it in. We have no space on the plane, and things like that might happen. So I've had that happen actually once when I was on tour and we're traveling with those gear. So I literally took whatever I could out of my check-in luggage, and I was like holding it under my armpits. But they still took the bag, and I thought I took everything fragile out of it, but I did have lenses. No, thank God, nothing happened. But those are things that you want to be, I guess, aware of and planning for. And also equipment that can be like you said, Lucas, with the monopod, right, where it can be used to stabilize your shot, almost like a tripod, but you can also use it for panning shots. You can even use it as a crane. You can lift it up high on the monopod. So like having equipment that can be, it can multitask. And then definitely with the camera, I would say, if you're traveling and you're doing, like you're going to be on location a lot, just moving around, it's probably better than, that's why I always say there's always a good camera for depending on which job you're doing, because there's no perfect camera. Because like I wouldn't take, let's say, an Ursa or a Red Epic on something like that. Because, that's, like I went traveling to India, for example, with my Ursa, but in that case, I wasn't really, like I went there once and that was it. I had my luggage costs covered. I checked in, big cases that were very well padded and all that stuff. So I didn't have to really worry so much about the gear. And then once I was there on location, I had way too many assistants. The first day it was like 20 something people who all wanted to assist, to carry gear and all that stuff. So it's, when it's a one-man crew, that's the big thing, is you're gonna have to carry all that by yourself. So you want to have equipment that you can utilize to do a few different things, right? So less stuff to carry.
I mean, having those the good image stabilization in your cameras,
Yeah.
it really helps, right? If you can actually get away with not having maybe a tripod, like this little tripod, right? Might help a lot. You can still get so many shots if you've got a good IS, and it's it's more and more available in more cameras. So
Yeah, definitely.
So that's yeah. And actually, maybe another thing on the subject, but like one thing I guess I've learned is that traveling, things rarely go to according to the plan, so you have to improvise a lot, which also means kind of one thing I've learned is that what you don't get hung up on like what you were supposed to get, because then sometimes it can really sometimes you'll be disappointed. Okay, I could not get this shot, that shot, and you kind of start to focus on what you didn't get, and that's really going to hurt your video, your film. Like there, just focus on what you can get, right? And
Yeah.
like don't and because there might be other opportunities, but overall, like usually don't get held back by what you didn't get, right?
Yeah.
Just focus on what you can get and might be different. And like once you get home, you look at all the footage and see, and I'm sure it's never going to be like the same as maybe what you planned for, right? Especially like if you're working in an environment where you're not controlling a lot of things, and especially if you're also weather oftentimes plays a big factor. So yeah, like I found myself sometimes, Tom would remind me like, don't focus on that. Like, don't worry, you didn't get that shot.
Yeah.
Just get other shots. Maybe there'll be better shots. You never know, and it's too early to judge. And don't worry. Don't worry so much. You just go, should make the best of the situation. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Like you still want to. It's not like you should just throw up your hands each time and be like, ah, whatever, I didn't get it. It's okay. No, I mean, try to get it and and then with the shots that you do get, try to do a good job. But just like when there's something happens outside of your control, weather, whatever, then you just go, okay, I've tried my best. Like when you know deep inside you've tried your best but you couldn't, then don't stress over it and look for another opportunity, right? To make the best out of it.
I think
Anyways,
somebody.
I,
Oh, sorry.
any other questions?
No, I think that's all.
Yeah. Okay. So so let's finish because it's been we're over an hour because I mean we did have a slight delay because of YouTube again. Anyways, hopefully next time we'll be on YouTube, no problem.
But thank you for joining us on Facebook. Some people prefer Facebook, so we are always going to be on Facebook too. So if you prefer Facebook, please stay on
as long as
Facebook.
Facebook doesn't change something like YouTube did, and because Facebook right now I love it. It's so easy to do live on Facebook. YouTube, it's a little bit of a headache, and I know that they've been having server problems lately. Maybe because there's so many people. I have no idea why, but yeah, thank you guys. It was fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. For next week, I think we're gonna have like a little tutorial that we're gonna be doing, but also answering questions and showing your work. So definitely go to submit it. Just go to tomantosfilms.com / what's the contact? Or just go to tomantosfilms.com and then click on the contact link on the top right, and then there you have an option to submit your work. And that's it, right? Anything else you want to say, Lucas, before we finish?
No, it was fun. It was a bit different today because we didn't connect on YouTube, but it's at the end of the day, it's great to connect with people, and so I'm so glad that people joined us on Facebook.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, anyways, that's it. Bye.
Bye.